What is going on, dudes, dudettes, and all those in between? It is your boy, A Crazy Gun Nut, here again. I am doing this video on request of my friend Jordan, also known as SicZy. If you do not follow him, go over there and give him a shout. Let him know I sent you. What we're doing here is we're going over a couple of different variations of guns that we've got in Modern Warfare. Basically just giving you my opinion and some information on what those guns are and what you can do with them. So let's just jump right into it. So the first gun we're going to be going over is the Kilo 141. Now, a lot of people are saying that this is a new ACR. It is definitely not. It is actually based off of the HK433. HK is the same company that makes the G36. They do have an integrally suppressed upper in Modern Warfare. I personally could not find any information on HK if they actually had that available for the gun. But regardless, it very well could be. It's a pretty normal upgrade nowadays. The next thing we're going to be looking at is the FAL. There are some upgrades you can do to it that make it into the FAL Para, OSW Para front end, as well as the folding stock. OSW stands for Operational Specialist Weapon, Para obviously for Paratrooper. Usually with folding stocks and stuff like that, that's what you'll see in Paratrooper style weapons. The next thing we're looking at is the integrally suppressed barrel for the M4. You really can't find one certain person who came up with the integrally suppressed barrels. ARs have a lot of customization that you can do with them, and so pretty much everybody and their mother makes some sort of customization option for an M4, an AR-15 platform. So as for the integral suppressor, it really honestly could be anyone. The first one I found was the Gemtech Integra, but I mean, like I said, it could be any silencer company. Next thing we're looking at is the 9mm Para conversion. Originally, that was actually part of a gun that was created by Colt, the Colt AR-6951 carbine. Unfortunately, the one in the game actually looks like it's feeding from Glock magazines, whereas the 6951 actually feeds from almost Uzi style magazines. They've got a flat bottom. But again, with your 9mm conversion and stuff like that, there's a lot of companies that do 9mm lower receivers, 9mm conversions, and a lot of them use Glock mags, so it's not surprising that we see a version with Glock mags here in Modern Warfare. The next one is one that we've actually already talked about. It's the 458 conversion with the rifle there. So it's 458 SOCOM conversion. It's currently being advertised with Wilson Combat. They advertise it as a hunting round, but like we spoke about in the previous video that I did on it, it actually was originally created to take out drugged up terrorists. So take that with what you will. And of course, I went ahead and used my OG blueprint here to create the original M16 for Modern Warfare, as well as kind of show off what it looks like originally with the M16 Grenadier front end and stuff like that. Next up is the FAMAS. There's really not a whole heck of a lot that you can do with it. I was kind of hoping that you'd be able to put the new top on it to make it look like the FAMAS from Black Ops, but not really. I've maxed it out and there's not really a whole lot you can do with it, unfortunately. Next one after this is the Odin. The Odin's real name is actually the ASH 12.7. It is a Russian rifle, and its big old suppressor isn't actually a suppressor that was made for that gun. It was made for the KBP VKS sniper rifle, and it was actually not originally made for the Odin, but it definitely looks pretty much identical, so it fits the gun perfectly. It's already chambered in the correct round, so it's definitely something you could add to the gun theoretically. Now, on to the M13, and I don't know if too many people care about this anymore, but I know it drove me nuts when the game first came out. This is not a Honey Badger. This is a SicZy MCX rifle. They definitely make an integrally suppressed upper for it, and it is chambered in 300 blackout, and they do make the sliding closed stock like they have on the Honey Badger, but it is not the Honey Badger. The Honey Badger is made by an entirely different company. This is based off the Sig Sauer MCX line. Then we've got the FN Scar 17. This is pretty up to date, pretty accurate for everything that they offer. This version of the Scar is called the SC. I believe that stands for Subcompact Carbine. As far as I could find, I did not find anything that expressly showed this gun chambered in 7.62 like it is in Modern Warfare, but it is definitely, possible. The parts are there. The stock, I'm pretty sure, would fit on the same. As for that front end, it may be a little bit different just because of the higher caliber, but I'm not 100% certain. But regardless, I wasn't able to actually find a version of it in 7.62, so take that with what you will. So this may look like an AK-74U, but actually if you notice, it does have the 7.62 round in it. So I looked into it a little bit. I personally thought that they were called Krinkoffs, but I was incorrect. These versions of pistols are actually called Dracos. So I erroneously put the skeleton stock on it. When these were originally sent to the United States as pistols, they did not have the stock on them. So this is going to be your AK-74 style rifle with 7.62. Is actually based off of a Romanian rifle that was imported to the United States and then, you know, customized to work correctly with our laws. But if you see a version of this gun chambered in 7.62, it is technically called a Draco, not a Krinkoff. So that was actually something I didn't know. The next one is obviously going to be the 5.45 version, which is the AK-74U. So that's pretty par for the course with that gun. And then of course you've got your RPK variant, which are basically just AK-47s with big heavy barrels and big magazines and all that fun stuff. Next up is the Ram 7 or the Tavor. TAR 21 doesn't really have a whole lot of conversion stuff for it. I thought the front end looked pretty cool. The TAR does have an integral optic that you can buy for it. It doesn't look like it's included in the game, unfortunately, but the version here that I'm showing looks like it is a gun-specific variant. It may have some design cues based off of a Tavor site that I may not know about. Now on to the submachine guns, and as funny as it is, the first submachine gun we're looking at is in 5.56. It's a converted AUG, which is unsurprising at all considering the AUG is usually an assault rifle. So it is cool that they gave us the option to switch it to 5.56. Then another thing you can do with it with the right barrel and the right scope is you can make it the AUG A3, which is should be apparent to anybody that played Modern Warfare 2. The P90 has a pretty special front end that you can put on it, and I was unable to find any, I don't want to say reputable, but known brands that do this. The only thing I could find was a website called fn57sale.com that had something that looked very similar to this. I've seen similar setups on airsoft guns, but I have never really seen any mainstream version of that whole front end on a P90, so it may just be something that was created for the game, or it may just be something I really couldn't find. But regardless, it's an interesting front end, and it's definitely gun specific. The next one everybody should know, that's going to be your MP5 SD. It's an integrally suppressed MP5 with a full stock. Next one is about as close as you can get to an MP5K. Obviously, with an MP5K, you'd like to have the stock taken off, and you would probably not have that big handguard on the front, but I tried to make it as close as possible. The next gun is actually a version people not know actually exists. It's called the MP5/10. It is a MP5 variant in 10mm. Works exactly the same as your regular MP5s, it's just chambered in a different round. Next thing we're going to talk about is the Uzi. There aren't really any big conversion things you can do for it, but basically the setup I have here is the Uzi carbine that would sell to civilians and stuff like that with the stock, so you could actually use it as it's intended. The PP19 doesn't really have a whole lot of stuff for it, but it does have the comically large 84 round helical mag, so I figured I'd at least comment on that. And the MP7's kind of the same, doesn't really have a whole lot you can do to it. Unfortunately, does not have the telescoping stock that you can put on it, so that's kind of a bummer, but at least you can make it tiny. Next up are the shotguns. I could not find anything to directly confirm the make and model of the shotgun, but the safety as well as the pump release is the same as a Remington 870, so we're just going to say it's a Remington. And so in this case, judging by how it looks here, it'd be pretty close to a Remington Shockwave. Next up is the standard manufacturing DP12. It's called the R90 in Modern Warfare. Not really a whole lot of conversion stuff you can do for it. It's kind of a one-off shotgun, not really something that you would probably see used very often, but it is a cool addition for the game. And everybody should know this. This is the 725. It is based on the Browning Satori 725 over-under shotgun. And obviously the conversion you can do for it that's notable is you can make it sawed down completely. Next up is the Origin 12 shotgun. It is based off of a real shotgun. It's called the Fostech Origin 12. It's a semi-automatic 12 gauge, and not really any huge conversions you can do for it, but you can put a nice big Silencer Co. Osprey style suppressor on there. It's pretty neat. PKM, not really any conversion stuff you can do for it. I just kind of tried to make it look cool. SA87, I personally think that this gun works a lot better as an L85. Definitely not the best machine gun, but we can definitely turn it into a pretty decent assault rifle. Unfortunately, it still is in that MG category though. M91 looks like it's based off of an M240. Not really a whole lot of conversion stuff you can do with it, so I pretty much just made it look interesting. MG34, it's an old World War II machine gun. Not really any conversion stuff you can do for this one either, so I just kind of made it look like a Star Wars blaster. Thought that was kind of neat. And on to the Holler 26, also known as the G36. So its initial variant that you get it in is the MG36, but you can definitely do some stuff to it to make it look more like its brothers and sisters. So the first thing I did was turn it into a normal G36. So it's not an MG36 in this setting, which really, the only main difference in the MG36 and the G36 line is the MG36 has the 100 round magazine, but I went ahead and added the integral optic to it as well. Then after this, you've got your G36K, which is just a shorter version of the G36. And then finally the G36C, which is the much shorter version of the G36. So you can definitely convert the Holler into anything you may want. Again, it's another light machine gun that kind of turns into an assault rifle, but you know. Then on to our marksman rifles. The main one that you can do a lot of conversion stuff with is the EBR-14. That comes without a surprise. You can turn it into a Mark 21, Mark 14 EBR. Unfortunately, with the Mark II carbine, there's not really a whole lot that you can do for it. I was kind of hoping we'd be able to do a mare's leg with like a really short barrel and no stock, but they kind of kept it pretty mundane with this one, which is surprising given the other upgrades you can do for guns. Carnity 8K is kind of the same thing. You can't really do a whole lot of conversion with it. I know some variants that you can get in the Battle Pass, for example, gives it a nice like modern looking stock and stuff like that, but without doing anything conversion wise or variant wise, there's really not a whole lot you can do with it. The biggest conversion you can do with the Dragunov is you can actually turn it into the SVDS, which is just the SVD Dragunov with a skeleton stock that folds and a shorter barrel, and that is about it. The last two sniper rifles don't really have a lot of conversions you can do for them, as well as the riot shield and the knife. None of the pistols really have any crazy conversions. We went over the snake shot in previous games, but there's just, you know, some pretty cool conversions that you can do for some of the guns in the game, and they definitely went out of their way to make a very interesting gunsmithing mode and definitely found out different things that work well for the game and work well for creativity as well as variety when it comes to gun customization. So definitely hats off to them. I think there's a couple things they could have done differently, but you know, when you've got so many different attachments and so many things you have to balance and make sure it works well, it's not really that far-fetched to assume that they got a little tired of it. So anyway, that about wraps it up. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you wouldn't mind, just hit a like. If you hated it, hit a dislike. Remember to like, comment, favorite, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you haven't checked us out on Facebook or Twitter, go ahead and give us a follow there. And obviously give us a follow over there at Fuel Gaming. Give us a shout out. Make sure to check out the 724 podcast. Thanks again, guys. See you soon. Crazy Gun Nut out.